disenchanted with just making a living. That's too bad that the industry put that kind of...
It looks like the music industry is shaken by yet another scandal, and it goes way back to the main enabler, Clive Davis. So this story is about Barry White allegedly trying to warn one of Clive's artists, Luther Vandross, about his boss and his shady moves. You see, Luther signed with Clive's company at the age of 49, and poof, 5 years after, he passed away from multiple health complications. It looks like Luther ignored everything Barry tried to tell him about Clive. Allegedly, White wanted Luther to know exactly what he might be getting into by partnering up with Clive. Barry didn't mince words when he warned his friend about Clive's hidden desires, but apparently, he chose to turn a blind eye to all the warnings once the chance to make real cash appeared.
Once you take a bite of it, it tends to turn on you and start eating you up.
Barry White remains the most underrated icon of African-American music. But before becoming a legend and a voice to be reckoned with, he had a tough life. He grew up on the streets of Los Angeles, and while he could play the piano and sing from a young age, Barry's teenage years were marked by crime. At the age of 16, he was jailed for theft. In prison, he heard Elvis Presley singing "It's Now or Never" on the radio. The song affected the young Barry deeply, and he resolved to use his musical talent to escape the thug life. But he wasn't just an ordinary artist. Having been on the other side of glitz and glamour, he saw the industry as it is, filled with greedy and dangerous people, pulling the strings. And guess who he was avoiding at all cost? The mega producer Clive Davis?
Nor was there any secret experimentation on my part going on.
Apparently, with his knowledge of a bad life, he was adamant to step into the dirty mud of the criminal world ever again. And that's why the music industry wasn't actually loyal to him. As Barry himself was saying, people are always looking for me to be a freak, weird. But apparently, it saved him from many troubles and gave him the power to warn others, like Luther Vandross. He was another big name in music, although he started off his career in a simple way. Growing up in New York City, Luther was crazy about music from a young age. He was always singing. Everyone around him could see he had something special, a talent, and naturally, he realized he had to work hard to make his dream come true.
But you know that in 3 days you have to do this major thing. It doesn't really allow you to rest.
Luther got his big break in the 1970s when he started singing backup for famous artists like David Bowie and Diana Ross. In his past interviews, he even praised David for starting his career in the music. "David Bowie started my career, flat out. Absolutely. I had never been out of New York City before Bowie took me on the road with him." Working with these heavyweights gave him mad experience and got him noticed in the music game. But backing up wasn't enough for Luther. He wanted to be the star of his own. So in 1981, he made a game, changing move. He signed with Clive Davis, a big shot in the music scene who just launched J Records. They say Davis saw something truly unique in Luther, and the young musician was happy to be noticed by such a prominent producer.
Reinforcement,
Sure.
of the impression you're making musically on people.
But that time, Clive Davis wasn't just dipping his toes into music, he was making waves. Today, he's a true music legend, the man who discovered talents like Whitney Houston and Alicia Keys. Some were saying the man had a talent for discovering a great song or a great voice, but there was always talk about his sinister side that folks naturally tend to avoid. Rumor has it Davis had a taste for drama. There were stories about clashes with artists over creative control. Some of his artists shared that he wasn't giving his protégés much artistic freedom, but in fact, this man is way worse than everyone imagined.
It's too much work that yields too little result, from my assessment.
While he remained the icon of the music biz, some folks had a feeling that there's more about this man than we know, especially when many shady stories started to emerge. As one person commented, Clive Davis was a horrible person, a perfect example of those who wield too much power. And another user added, "Clive Davis is a sick individual. He does not belong in the music business at all." This horrible, but here's the thing you need to understand about the music world. It's really hard to make it big without useful connection, and Clive Davis had a big impact on the industry for years. He wasn't just a record maker or scouting for talent, he patronized every single star he signed until the end. Don't know if I need to remind you that some of these endings were rather tragic.
You've all learned of the unspeakably tragic news of our beloved Whitney's passing.
And here's what streets are buzzing about now. Barry White tried to warn Luther about Clive Davis and his dangerous game. Rumor has it, Barry knew something shady was going on with Clive. He tried to tell Luther to watch out for Clive's intentions, but Luther didn't listen. He was all pumped up about the opportunity. "Oh, please, I'm so happy. That's what took so long. I waited for that particular scenario to run its course and develop correctly. It was worth it." In case you haven't heard about Clive's work, well, he gets real close with his artists. Some say he's like their mentor, guiding them through the wild world of fame and money. But others whisper about his strange feelings towards male artists, especially in the light of his revelation about his intimate preferences.
And I did find that I could be attracted to a man.
And check this. After signing with Clive, Luther's health went downhill. He started having serious problems that messed with his ability to perform and record music. His mind wasn't right either. Friends and fans noticed Luther wasn't himself anymore. He seemed stressed out and less happy, and all this working with Clive eventually led to a stroke. It's like too much work for too little payoff, or something shady was happening behind the scenes. Was Clive's influence part of the problem? Did the stress of working with Clive and his demands mess up Luther's life? Hard to say for sure, but Luther wasn't happy at all.
Teach myself, to be strong with it all. But it's a terrible thing that...
Despite his health issues, Vandross kept grinding on his music. Still under Clive's mentorship, he dropped his last album in 2003, Dance With My Father, which blew up big time. It scooped up a bunch of Grammy Awards, and from the side, everything looked perfect. People respected his guts to keep making music even when he wasn't feeling top-notch. Eventually, Luther decided to focus on his health. He wanted to take charge and feel good about himself, especially considering his problems with eating. As he confessed back in 1991, if I'm emotionally distraught, then eating is my coping mechanism. For what ails me, it seems to be the only thing that takes the edge off the pain. It wasn't easy, but by his third year of managing his weight, he felt better than ever. But around that time, another rumor started to circle in the industry about him being on the deal side.
I would like to know if there was a lucky lady in your life.
Right now, no.
Rumors about this swirled throughout his career, though it was kind of an open secret. Luther never officially came out, despite everyone pretty much knowing. He had plenty of lady fans, and apparently, instructed by his mentor Clive, he chose not to rock the boat. This was confirmed after Luther's demise by his close friend. Some folks thought his friend shouldn't have spilled the beans. Vandross was born in 1951, long before LGBT+ folks were widely accepted. Being both black and W was especially bold back then, and his alleged relationship with Clive Davis could have been another blow to the industry.
My closest friends certainly all knew.
However, as the chat was growing louder, something unexpected happened to Luther. On April 16, 2003, he suffered a severe stroke at home in New York City, putting him in a coma for nearly 2 months. It left him struggling to speak and sing, needing a wheelchair. Despite making progress, he eventually passed away in the summer of 2005 at the age of 54. It may just seem another coincidence and another tragic demise of a star from Clive Davis's label, but it starts looking like a sad pattern, especially if you check the history of his artists and how many of them met unfortunate ends way before it should have happened. As Barry White hinted, Clive was using all kinds of manipulation to keep his artists on a tight leash.
Everybody saw it as quick money. Naturally, we're a capitalistic country. Everybody jumped on it.
Now, many folks on social media believe that Clive deserves to be investigated, and there are too many tragedies that happen to the people he signed and get close to. As one fan wrote, Clive is the devil, and anyone that tried to leave him, left in a body bag. And another user added, every artist that Clive had under him have passed, especially when they want out of their contract. I see where Diddy got it from, so sad. Well, the tale of the music biz is getting even darker with more stories surfacing. And what do you think about this, guys? Is Clive another industry snake to be investigated? And could he do something, the Luther Vandross? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to check my other videos.